Good evening, ladies and gents, and welcome to another packed edition of the Red and Blue Review. I'm Ian Noble, and I'll be hosting tonight's show. In a moment, I'll introduce you to our panel this evening. But before we get onto the show, if you are watching live, please hit the share button and start your own watch party, sharing the Red and Blue love with those on your Facebook wall. Don't forget that you can find us on Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. You can watch this back at any time, listen to this or any of our previous podcasts. You can ask Alexa to play the latest Red and Blue Review podcast, or simply go to redandbluereview.co.uk for all the links. Joining me this evening, back by popular demand for the third week in succession, is Mittal Pultel. We'll come to these guys in a minute. Here he is. Mittal, hello, welcome. How are you?
Evening.
Good evening to you, matey. Good of you to join us again. Back by popular demand, I understand. Third week running, is that right?
Yeah, I think so.
You think so? Very good. Anyway, you're very welcome, matey. And also, good evening to Steve Mason. Hello, Steve.
Good evening, guys and gals. How are you all doing?
Good stuff. And finally, I can't get rid of him. He sat behind me in the main stand yesterday. It's Tim Richards, everyone. Hi, Tim.
Good evening, everyone. Hi, mate. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, fella. Shouting in my ear yesterday. Goodness me, I barely recovered. I've barely recovered from your.
That was Wendy.
That was Wendy, of course it was. Yeah, of course it was. Yeah. And Wendy's in the background there. Wendy's in the background. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Good of you to join us. All some usual names on there for us tonight, and it's really good to see you all for this edition of the Red and Blue Review. Of course, we're looking back at the Watford game. We relegated that small team in Hertfordshire yesterday. It was a great thing to do that, great thing to be there. We're going to be talking about the game, the changes to the team. There were 5 of them. We'll be talking Jeff Thomas a little bit later on, and Roy Hodgson, of course. Of course, we're mathematically safe now on 44 points, so we'll be talking about that. We'll have a chat about the players that are out of contract at the end of the season. And finally, we'll look ahead at some of the games that are remaining this season and some of the things coming up this week in SE25. So let's get to the game first of all. Tim, you were there with me, sitting in the main stand. You thought I gave the linesman some abuse. Yeah, I did it a couple of times.
Shocking.
But he deserved it because he blatantly missed an offside in that second half, and he needed to be told, frankly. And from where I sit in the main stand, I can make myself heard. That's for sure. So yeah. So Tim, talk us through the game. It won't take too long. And that's me, by the way. That's me taking a photograph of Roy Hodgson. And here's the photograph. Where's the photograph that I took? Nige? Oh, this is slick tonight. There we are. There's the photograph. How good is that? Thanks, Nige, for that. Super stuff behind the scenes. So, Tim, it won't take us too long. Give us your highlights of the game yesterday.
It started. We scored a penalty. Half time. Second half. Game over. No, it was. To start off with, I thought it was really nice the reaction both Ray Lewington and Roy got for the game. I thought that was really good. I was really pleased to see that. Getting to the game, I was delighted to be there. I waited over 12 years to see us play Watford. So it was great to be there. I was a little concerned, seeing as you very kindly gave up your seat of about 200 years so that Wendy and I could sit together. I was a bit concerned.
I'm such a nice bloke,
but so the game started, obviously. I thought it was quite an odd atmosphere to start off with. It. You could really tell the difference in class between the two teams. And I think whether it was end of season, we were safe, it was playing Roy's team, it just seemed like we were toying with them a bit. It kind of just real easy game. Eze, I thought, was getting back more to his levels of last season. In fact,
Cool.
BBC had him as player of the match on the website, I noticed. And before, just to emphasise that point, before talking about the game, I got the stats down here, and I think that basically says it all. Possession was 68 to 32% for Palace.
Yeah.
Shots 15 for Palace, 1 for Watford. Shots on target 7. Oh, there you go. You've got them up there. Fouls 11 to us, 18 to them. So that kind of sums the game up. But no, it was a real easy game. Elise was toying with them as he was up to getting back to his level. I thought Wilf was probably up for it more than I've seen for a while. Maybe Watford hangover. Kind of, before we got the penalty, there was Guye's chance for I think it was a corner. I can't remember now. A good header. Yeah. That was really good. Great save from Foster. But we kept at it. We were at it. Gallagher, I'd like to see him play a little bit more forward. I think sometimes he drops because he wants to do so much for the team. He kind of drops back and tries to go back and help. I'd like to see him stay a bit further up. But I thought he had a good game. Watford with their usual selves. I haven't actually got noted down when their number 14, I think it was, got his first yellow card. I mean, he was lucky not to have one just shortly after that. As Ian was saying, we were real close to the edge and he was getting away with murder. The linesman wasn't picking. It was just ridiculous. But we kept going. So first half, the penalty came, definite penalty.
Okay, let me stop you there, Tim. Definite penalty. I'm not sure that view is shared by everyone. Mitchell, what do you think about the penalty? Was it a penalty?
Yeah, I think it was.
Okay.
It was pretty clear. It went to VAR. VAR didn't obviously overturn it. I don't think there was an issue with it. At least literally touched his shirt. There was no real shove or push. Pen all day long and clinical, ice cold in his veins. Go.
Okay. Roy Hodgson thought differently in the post-match interview, though, didn't he, Steve? Did you see that?
To be honest with, I agree with what you're saying, Mitchell, but at the same time, I think it's not a clear and obvious enough for them to rescind it. But you can look at it in two ways. For me, my first reaction was, can it be a penalty? The fact that he's back towards him. So he wasn't even seeing where the ball was. But then he kind of jumped like a starfish. So he kind of, he leaves the ref with no option. So
letter of the law.
It's like that. But so I can see why it is. And I think I'm probably sort of 51% in favour of it being a penalty. But I don't know. It's not as clear and obvious as that.
Steve, I think you hit the nail on the head there. I think the fact that the referee gave it meant that it wasn't a clear and obvious error to give the penalty. Therefore,
if he wouldn't have given it,
I think if he hadn't have given it, I don't think VAR necessarily intervenes and gives it. They might have done, given that his arm was in an unnatural position. But Watford's gripe was the fact that Elise did push the guy in the back. It wasn't much. It was hardly anything, just a touch in the back. But
that's enough these days, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is. But I think that we got the rub of the green yesterday with that penalty decision. I mean, we've had enough go against us this season. I'm thinking of Leeds away when Mark Gee gave away one in the last minute when his arm was up. So, there are times when it's gone against us. So I think we deserved the good fortune that went with the penalty decision yesterday. He took it so brilliantly, didn't he, Mitchell? He put it away struck it with aplomb, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why he wasn't the penalty take for the last however long he's been with us. He's clinical, apart from obviously that little scuffed one. But, pens are so hard these days. It's 50-50. But, he knew where he wanted to put it. He put it there, out of the keeper's reach, even if he died that way. So, happy days.
Yes, absolutely. Jolly good. Okay, so let's come on to the second half. Tim, what about highlights of the second half for you?
I don't... To be fair, I don't think there were an awful lot. A couple of things I did want to bring up. We only won 1-0, but if you have a look at it, you had Schlupp, Mateta, and Eduardo had some great chances that were brilliant saves. Eduardo especially, his run through. I mean, how he didn't score, he was so unlucky. The sending off didn't from where we were. It's a bit difficult to see what was going on, what was happening there. But when you see it on the TV, he can have absolutely no complaint about that second yellow card when he took Elise off. They were off the pitch anyway, and he took him out. So it wasn't nasty, but it was, a definite yellow card. The two things I did want to bring up for the whole game, which for me were the highlights. Chloe mentioned it actually as well in the chat. The quality of the passing from the back, from both Anderson and Guehi and Ward. And, getting back to what they were doing at the beginning of the season, they kind of stopped midway through the game. But the long balls and the quality of Wilf and the others to bring them down. I mean, we were looking at a different team. Yes, it's only Watford. But again, that takes you on to another thing. And again, we've not been beaten at Selhurst since February. And you look against Southampton, Leeds, Watford, Arsenal, the quality of the performances that we've been watching. If you'd gone back this time last year and said, that's the kind of football you're going to see, would we have believed them?
Well,
and
we certainly would have taken that, wouldn't we?
Yeah. Another thing I quickly want to mention is Will Hughes. I think he's probably one of the bargains of the year, to be fair. I said to you, Ian, during the game, I was watching, because where we were sitting, you're real close, you can hear the players on the pitch. And every time they were over, Will Hughes was marshalling all the players around, constantly talking, Elisa, get there, get it, watch behind, all the time. He was just like onto the players, telling them what to do. He was getting stuck in. I thought yesterday he had a blinder of a game, to be honest.
Brilliant. Thanks, Tim. Mitchell, you're keen to come in.
Yeah, just on the two defenders, they've been outstanding and they've changed basically the way we play. But Anderson yesterday and Gay was 97% accurate yesterday. Anderson was 84. And if you think about all of his long balls yesterday, I think he cracked about 17 out of 24 were pretty much on target.
Okay.
He's unreal. Like, he is in the whole of the Premier League in accurate long balls per 90. He's at 7.8. That's number one in Premier League over Neves, Trent, Thiago Silva, and by a substantial amount. So that ball, that crossfield ball, over the defence, over to Wilf, was on all day in that first half yesterday, and he finds it.
Absolutely. Tim, I'll come to you in a minute. Anderson completed 15 long balls yesterday versus Watford. The Palace centre-back has pinged 226 accurate long balls this season. And as you say, Mitchell, most in the Premier League and the second highest total in Europe. Now, that's quite something, isn't it? That's quite a player to have in your back line, isn't it? So yeah, we're blessed with him. We're thankful we have him. The Danish Beckenbauer. He's Danish, isn't he? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay. I come back to the second half chances. I thought the Edouard chance was an excellent one, really unlucky. Foster got something on it, which pushed it onto the post. I thought the Mateta header when he came on was a good header. His second ever wasn't quite so good, though. He sort of put it wide of the post. But that and Schlupp's shot as well, which you touched on, Tim. So I think we did have some chances in the second half. But interestingly, Patrick Vieira said in his post-match press conference that we didn't create enough chances. What do you think about that comment, Steve?
I think, like with the likes of Schlupp when he went through and Edouard when he danced through about 8 players, it was kind of like RUS against West Ham, wasn't it? He just danced through players. But I think the amount of clear and goal-scoring opportunities, chances, I don't think we're still lacking. We are creating some from like shots around the edge of the box and sort of getting just inside the box and getting shots away to get our stats up. But we're not creating the gilt-edged chances. And I think that's probably what he's referring to. And I think where we are still lacking.
Yeah. Tim?
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, because there's a few other things I wanted to bring up from yesterday that I noticed. First of all, Klein, I think, like Hughes, he has been brilliant for us this season. He came to us purely to train, didn't have a club, no contract, but he wants to train. And look what he's done for us. Look at the level of performances and how assured he's made us. Also, when I was one of the biggest critics beginning of the season, but how comfortable have we looked the last couple of months with playing the ball out to the back? All of us hating it, but look how comfortable we look now, and look how we're also alternating it. We're not always doing one thing and not the other. And the last thing I was going to mention, while I think of it before I forget, the one thing I'd like to see us do more, the one thing that I still think we need to work on, is I was watching yesterday, the number of times you had Eze, Gallagher, Wilf, Edouard looking for the ball over the top. The quick ball, making a run, breaking, and it didn't go. It went sideways. It didn't go forward. Yeah. And I think if we could nail that, coupled with everything else, those chances will come.
Yeah, and I think the Elise, when he breaks in from the right on his left foot, he comes inside and he whips the ball in, doesn't he? You know, we saw it happen 2 or 3 times yesterday. You know, they put it out for a corner a couple of times, but sooner or later, that's going to turn into to goals for sure. Steve?
Just on the Elise note, I mean, ever since the Millwall game, I think he really came of age against Millwall. And I think every week since then, he's kind of... the level of expectancy, I think, when he's played has gone up massively when he's been in the team.
Yeah.
Like for the goals, the crosses, the all-round playmaking. Ever since that Millwall appearance, he hadn't really made that many appearances, but I think that's got to be one of the potential signings of the season. I think he's a better addition than what Eze was when he came.
Well, I think they're both class, aren't they? You know, they've both got an awful lot to give. So that's good. 5 changes yesterday. 5 changes in that starting 11. So out went Guaita, MacArthur, Schlupp and Ayew and Mateta. Butland obviously played in goal. Hughes, we've already touched on. Wilf, Elise and Edouard came in. When was the last time we made 5 changes to a league team, you know, a Premier League game or a Championship team, from the next game when we won both games? I can't even remember us ever doing that. 5 changes and we win both games. Tim, can you remember?
No, but again, a humble pie time number 15 for the season for me. But again, I think you've got to look at the chairman and Dougie Freedman. I mean, the number of years we've given them grief. Admittedly, they've had the money to spend, but look at the quality of signings they've made. I think I said the other week, I mean, Arsenal paid over 50 million for that donkey defender from Bright Scum down the bottom. And for that, we got Anderson, Guy, Elise, Eze, and Hughes.
Absolutely.
So, and that comes from the top. We've given them a lot of grief over the years for not spending the money and not buying the place. But you look at the quality of the club now, the academy, what kind of position we're in now compared to 5 years ago. So, yeah, I mean, it's all looking rosy, really.
Absolutely. And when we're talking about when was the last time, Teresa says, when was the last time Wilf was subbed without being injured? Demonstrates the strength of our squad, which is sort of what you were just saying there, Tim. You know, we have got a great squad now, and it is a squad game in the Premier League, isn't it? And goodness, if we manage to get into Europe the season after next, we'll need even more great players. So, yeah, Steve, come in.
Yeah, I was just going to say on the note of, in particular, there was a lot of people in seasons past, and just touch on Tim's point about sort of the W. Freedman sporting director role, and the amount of posts I see on Facebook over the years of absolutely slating, what does he do? He's just earning a paycheck and he's robbing us blind. And I tell you what, you go back to even when you watch the like Where Eagles Dare, you watch that, what happened in 2012 and 2013 when they took over. He was instrumental in putting the jigsaws together.
He was.
I tell you what, I think he could walk into any job at W. Freedman with the ability he's shown at Palace. We work differently to the likes of Brentford and their scouting method, but whatever W. Freedman's doing, I'm glad to see that he's now reaping the rewards and the praise that he absolutely deserves, and backed by the chairman as well.
Absolutely. And to boot, he's a Palace legend really on the pitch, isn't he? You know, so all those of us that were at Stockport will attest to that for sure.
Yes.
So yeah, great stuff. So we win 1-0, we relegate Watford. What about at the end? We'll talk about Roy Hodgson, the reception that he got. We've already seen some photographs up. But it was great. We just knew that he would get a good reception. There he is at the end, talking to the Palace players, and he did he even acknowledge the Watford supporters? I don't know, but I know there's a lot of criticism on social media from Watford fans.
Roygate.
Yeah, Roygate. Yeah, Special Agent Roy. What do we think about the reception that Roy got yesterday? Fully deserved, guys. Would you go along with that?
Yeah.
These apparently are Roy and Ray's medals for the services to Crystal Palace behind enemy lines. So that's what these are.
I think he got knighted, didn't he, last week or the week before?
CBE, wasn't it?
You got his CBE. Is that a CBE or an OBE? It's a CBE. Is that a knighthood? Is that the same thing?
No, so it's OBE or CBE. It's services too, isn't it? It's as opposed to like Lewis Hamilton's Sir Lewis Hamilton. It's Roy CBE.
Yeah, so he was at the Palace. He received his award from Prince William, on Thursday, I think. So yeah, so good for Roy, and of course he'll always be welcome back at Selhurst Park any time. Now, someone else that came back to Selhurst Park yesterday at half time onto the pitch was a certain former captain of Crystal Palace, Jeff Thomas. Great what he's doing with his charity for leukemia. And I just want to read something out of the matchday programme from yesterday, if I can. So it says, iconic Crystal Palace captain Jeff Thomas received an MBE this year for his charitable work, raising millions for cure leukemia following his diagnosis with blood cancer. This year, he will ride the Tour de France for the 6th time, despite having described the most recent as his final. And he explains in the programme notes from yesterday how a very good friend of his died of cancer. And he was supportive of the Tour last year when he was ill. And because the guy's passed away, he feels that it's the right thing to ride this for the 6th time. If you want to donate to Jeff's appeal, he's looking to raise £1 million from doing this. He said anyone can walk 10K or run a marathon, but not anyone can do this. So there's a QR code in the programme. You can just scan it and donate to cure leukemia. So if you can, if you're able to give, then I'd encourage you to do so. So that was good. Let's talk about the fact that we are now mathematically safe from relegation. I think it was only a couple of games ago we were looking over our shoulder. There we are in 10th place with 24 points. We were sort of looking over our shoulder after we'd lost at Leicester, and we were thinking, you know, could it get bad? Could it get messy? And we weren't sure. And of course, the last 2 back-to-back wins have just allayed any fears of that. But we beat Watford 1-0 yesterday. We beat Watford 1-0 at Wembley in May 2013. What were your expectations of our Premier League survival hopes back in May 2013, or even in August 2013 when we kicked off in the Premier League? Mitchell first. What were your thoughts back in the day?
I mean, it feels like we worry about that at the start of every season. It's literally you go to the odds and there we are. We're in the top 5 to go down. So for me, this has been the best in like 10 years. It's just optimism going to every game. We have chances. Even in the games we've never won, we still dominated. We have possession. It's good all round. Everything's
Could you see us being here 9 years ago when we beat Watford at Wembley? Could you see us being where we are today?
If I'm honest, yes, I could, right? But then we didn't do anything. We just stalled. And then if you ask me, do you reckon we could do this in a season? There's nobody on God's earth would say we could end up with the success we've had this season and the change that has made everyone so much more optimistic.
Totally, absolutely. What about you, Steve? The playoff final, were you there at Wembley at the playoff final, you remember?
I was indeed. I can remember that like it was yesterday. And I think I agree with Mitchell. Even up until this season, even like when I discuss it with people at work, I still look at sort of championship as kind of like we could be back there. But actually, halfway through this season, though, I think has been a real turning point where we feel like after 8.5 years, we kind of now, the mindset really has changed with all of these signings that are coming with Vieira, the whole philosophy and the way that the club's go. And it kind of feels like this is where we now deserve to be and expect to be. I think things changed significantly this year. But you look at with the managers that we've gone through and now what we've got in Vieira, you have a look at like after the Ian Holloway left, after that game at Fulham, if anyone was there on that midweek game, when he left, Tony Pulis has come in, okay, Alan Pardew, Big Sam, Roy Hodgson. We've had all of these defensive-minded, let's just, try and stay in the game mentality. This is the first time, other than Pardew, this is the first time that we've actually set a stall out to win games as opposed to not lose them. And that's the difference, I think.
Mitchell?
Yeah, actually agreed with that. This is the first time we're being brave, attacking, getting young players and being offensive rather than defensive. And yesterday, actually, while we say that we're moving forward and being sort of attacking and blah, 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 yesterday, I think that's 4 home clean sheets in a row consecutively.
It is, yeah.
That didn't happen since I think 92, 20 odd years ago. So defensively, we're actually even better than we've ever been against all of those defensive managers. Anyway,
It says
Indeed.
that's the best form of defence.
It is. I'll come to you in a minute, Tim. Just want to mention Paul Bristow's comment in the chat. Paul, he comes up from Plymouth for every home game and every away game. So take my hat off to you, Paul. Paul says this is the club's longest run in the same division in my lifetime, and I was born in the 50s. Hey, you're even older than me, mate. Goodness me, that is something else. I hadn't thought about that actually, because we were up and down between the first and second tier for so many seasons, and of course between the second and third tier as well at times. Other people in the chat have put the fact that we have never had a positive goal difference at the finish in a Premier League campaign. And of course, that is in fact the case. We've never had a positive goal difference at all since Premier League started. And this is our how many seasons have we now had in the Premier League in total? Somebody in the chat tell me. But obviously, this is our 9th consecutively.
I think it's be our 9th.
Yeah, but in Premier League,
12 in total, because we've been up 3 times. This is our 4th time, isn't it, in the Premier League?
Yeah, so 12 or 13 seasons, isn't it, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you, Paul. You actually make me feel young. Great, I appreciate that. That's really good. It's an interesting question you ask, Ian, and having been in New Zealand for so long, obviously I kept an eye on the results, but I was kind of separated from it for a bit. But I would have to say, having been supporting them for that many years, having been at Sellers Park, there's been like 1,500 people for a game, and we're going to get relegated. It's the yo-yo club we were known as, up, down, So I was just hoping we'd get one season, stay up, at least be able to stay up for one season, because the amount of grief I have from friends, you'll be down. But it's football at the end of the day is you've got to take the long-term view. And again, I mentioned Parish and the club. Yeah, Roy, for many years we had managers just to keep us up, just to keep the money coming in, just so we could keep the players we've got. There was no investment. Give Roy his due. He had to do what he had to do with no investment. So we've had some money, but I take us back to this time last year, looking forward to this season, who's going to be our manager? How many different people did we hear? Oh, Frank's going to be your manager. So-and-so is going to be your manager. So-and-so is going to... And then finally, PV. Favourites for relegation. Now, to me, not only is it we're potentially going to finish the season with a positive goal difference, as Chloe and Paul mentioned, possibly our highest points total ever, but all the time playing good football. I can't remember the last time I heard everybody on a match of day, on match of the day, or on TalkSport talk about Palace and saying, I've loved watching them play this season. They're playing great football, down to Patrick Vieira. When was the last time you had Alan Shearer saying, I love watching Palace the way they play? Yeah, and that's in less than a season. So, you've got to take, it's a long-term thing, football. But what we've done in such a short space of time, and with the academy now, and hopefully some of the younger players, it's all looking good.
Certainly is, Tim. I just want to bring in a few comments from the chat here. So Chris Lehman of One More Point fame. There's yesterday's One More Point that went out on sale yesterday. If you haven't got it, you can get it from Chris. £3 postage and packing. I haven't read it yet, Chris, I must confess, but it's packed, and I will read it from cover to cover. But Chris says this is our 22nd top flight season ever. Of course, that includes pre-Premier League days as well. And Paul Bristow says that next Sunday against Aston Villa will be our 500th Premier League game. So quite a stat, that one as well. Thanks for that, Paul. Okay, so I think really collectively we would say that back in 2013 when we beat Watford at Wembley, we could not have dreamt that we'll be sitting here 9 years later, approaching our best ever finish to a Premier League season, about to start our 10th campaign in the top flight as a comfortable mid-table team that could push on with the right investment to the next level. So, I just think it's a brilliant story, and it just makes me so proud to support this club. Our highest points tally ever in the Premier League is 49. and that was in 2018-19, and our highest finish is 10th place in 2014-15, and both records are there to be broken this season.
That's incredible.
Okay, it is incredible, absolutely. Let's have a look. I want us now to turn our attention to the players. We talked about some of the players already tonight. Pre-show, we were talking about Wilf, weren't we? We were chatting about Wilf. Wilf's contract is up at the end of 2023. He is our most celebrated player. He is our GOAT. He is our talisman. Maybe he's not quite as important to us as he was a couple of years ago, but he's still a very important player. And you hear Patrick Vieira talking about him very affectionately and how important he is. And I loved the interview this week when Patrick said, I can play him on the right. He doesn't like that. I can play him down the middle. He moans about that. But I play him on the left. So, I can just imagine these conversations. Well, if I'm going to play you down the middle off the bench at Southampton, you can imagine him having a little moan about it. And he goes and scores the winner in the last minute. So, so let's talk about Wilf. Do we break the bank to keep him and renew his contract? Do we look to sell him this summer because it's the only time we're going to get any money for him, or do we let his contract run down? What do we think, chaps?
So,
Steve?
I personally think, look, you got to look at it from a business perspective. Yes, he's come through our academy. He hasn't cost us anything other than, signing up bonuses to re-sign contracts, and he is obviously our most paid player. But as a business, you can't let a player walk away for nothing. And if he doesn't, for me, I'd be having a conversation in the pre-season or in the off season, just saying, look, we've got to get a deal together. Otherwise, we're going to have to listen to offers, because even if we can nick 15, 20 million pounds, I think he's still potentially worth that sort of money. I think he's, no matter how much I don't want to say it, but I think this is the only chance we're going to get to actually let him go if we're gonna and reinvest into the squad. But if a deal can be done for Gallagher, does that show intent? So will he sign then? But I personally say sign him up. If he doesn't sign, you've got to let him go.
Okay, Nick Philpott says he won't sign a new contract. I don't know how he knows that, but I'm sure he would tell us. Teresa Baker says keep him. Daniel Garlick says if he wants to go, let's sell and reinvest. Tim, what do you think?
The question I've got is, do we still have that agreement in place with United that whatever we sell him, we have to pay them a certain amount of money? If so, how much is it? And does it become not worth selling him? Because at the end of the day, I'm kind of up and down regarding Wilf. He's such a talisman for the club. He reminds me like Brian Robson for United in the day, or Gazza for Newcastle, where even when he's not having the best game, he's just something about having him on the pitch for the team with the other players and the crowd. And it's just, are we going to get enough to sell him now to make it worthwhile? And B, is it really the case now where it's worth keeping him purely for the heart of the club and what extra he gives the supporters? Because I don't care what you say, the supporters still have a hell of a impact on a game. I mean, you saw it yesterday. I mean, hearing Wendy sing "Will Sending You Down to Watford" made my day. That was brilliant hearing him sing that. But he's just too important. I hate his tantrums. I hate when he gets miserable, when he starts slapping the floor. I hate it.
But aren't we seeing less of that now? Are we not seeing less of the tantrums?
Yes.
Mitchell, would you agree with that?
This season, I've seen a change in Zaha. So he's been our number one guy. We put everything on his shoulders for the last God knows how many years. And it's all Wilf. Everyone just bucket the wall to Wilf and let's see what he does. This year, he's still heavily involved in everything we do, but I've never seen him be more of a team player than this year. He runs. If you look at yesterday, he put in a shift yesterday. He didn't ever get really angry or petulant like he does, and he hasn't done so far this. In fact, he's had 2 red cards in the whole history of being in the Premier League. So yes, he's that kind of player, but we need him to be angry a little bit, as long as it's not petulance.
Yeah, I thought the Leeds game, it was typified that, Mitchell. He got kicked, he got rotationally fouled against Leeds United at home in that 0-0 draw on Monday night the other week, and he got out and walked away most of the time. So You know, I just think I think Patrick Vieira is working hard on this sort of anger management side of his game.
Yeah, I feel like Patrick thinks he is his number one. He talks about him in every interview I've read. Even when Patrick got inducted to the Hall of Fame, he was talking about, I need to speak about Wilf. So
Okay.
I think he loves him. And I think Wilf loves Patrick and the way we're going.
Yeah, absolutely. Tim?
Yeah, there was just something came to my mind. Evening, Joe, by the way. Nick says, oh, he's not going to sign a new contract, and I don't know where he's got that from. But in the back of my mind, I constantly go back to an interview he gave after, it's only a few games ago, but he gave an interview, and I forget the exact phrases he uses, but basically he was saying, look what we've done with a team that's hardly played together. We've been together for less than a season. Look what we're doing now. So would he walk away? Because if he thinks he's going to get bought by a big club and go into European football, I'm sorry, Wilf, you're being delusional. It's not going to happen now. It would have happened. It's not going to happen now. You might get a bit part in the team, but you're never going to get the kind of status or game time you're getting with us. And I still say that comment he made about, look what we're doing now, coupled with how much Vieira loves him and obviously is getting out of him. I don't know why Nick's so sure on that. He may know something I don't highly like, but yeah.
So Wilf's contract comes up at the end of 2020 or 2023 in the summer. Now there are 7 players out of contract this summer. Okay, so I'm going to read the names out to you now. Martin Kelly, Jeff Schlupp, Cheki Kuute, James Tompkins, James MacArthur, Jordan Ayew, Jello be pleased about that, Nathaniel Klein, and of course Gallagher's going back to Chelsea.
Or is he?
Or is he? So let's take them one at a time. Martin Kelly, Mitchell, keep him or let him go?
Gone.
Steve?
Agreed, gone.
Tim?
But thank you for your service.
I like that.
Yeah.
Tim?
Yeah.
Okay, Martin
Agreed.
Kelly, we think Martin Kelly should be allowed to leave. Okay,
Yep.
Anyone in the chat disagree with that? Tell us, please. What about Jeff Schlupp? Do we keep Jeff Schlupp, Tim?
Keep, definitely. I think he's a great player. Yeah.
Good. Steve?
I would let him go.
Would you?
I would. I think he's good, but he's a good versatile player. I think he can come on and do a job effectively in the positions, whether it's left back, wing back, or sort of going through the middle. But I don't want a jack of all trades anymore. I want designated players, and I think he has been good, but he's not been special. And I think if we're going to blood youngsters, I think it will be a tough one. If it's not going to break the bank to keep him, then do. But I think there's better options, and I'll free up the space and finances.
Okay. Mitchell, casting vote from you. We've got one keep, one
100,000,000% keep Schluppy. Mr. Consistent. Always a great squad player. Not selfish. Puts the right balls in. Doesn't cost us a bag. And I can save you so much cash with other players that do nothing.
I think the majority of the chat says keep Jeffrey Schlupp. One or two are saying...
So Mukhtar's agreeing with me for once.
Yeah. You've got one comrade there, Steve. But the majority are saying let's keep Jeffrey Schlupp, and I think he should start. I think he's a great squad player, very versatile, and can come on and definitely do a job for us. What about Cheki Kuute, Mitchell?
Yeah, I mean, I was really impressed with him this season. I thought he's been really, really consistent. You know, puts a foot in, does the job. But if there are rumours that we can get Sangare or Decore, then I'm happy to switch out because they are literally like miles ahead of him.
Yeah, I will go with that. Yeah. Okay, Tim.
Yeah, I think he's been brilliant for us, but we're never going to have the money to have a massive squad. And I think, if we can get these younger players, then with a heavy heart, I'd have to agree with Mitchell. Yeah.
Yeah. And Chloe says, I'd love to keep Kuute, but not sure he will stay. Steve, would you go along with that?
So, okay, I'm going to go against you guys again. I think whether it's centre-back or holding midfielder, I think he's had a brilliant season. And under Roy last season, he was unbelievable at centre-back when we didn't have the cover. And I think for the experience with, I know we're going to come on to Tompkins, but I think when my views are, I would keep Chiarte because he is brilliant and effective in those roles for maybe another season or two. I would keep him.
It was interesting yesterday, wasn't it, when Tarek Mitchell came on, that when Mike Gee was injured, that Ward moved to centre-back.
Yeah,
Tompkins didn't get a look in.
We said that.
That for me, spoke a lot about James Tompkins' future at Selhurst Park.
And how well did Ward do?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so Tim, Tompkins, keep on, let him go.
I think because of his age, I'd see, let him go. Again, brilliant player for it, but you've got to keep going forward.
Steve?
As much as I can't believe it, if you would have, when he first came in for seasons, he's been unbelievable. And to even concede the fact that he might leave would have been hard to think. But actually, since I've seen him come back from his injury, he hasn't been the same player. And I think time's to say, look, thank you for your service again, but time to move on.
Simon Krebin says, broke my heart that Tompkins didn't broke my heart. Tompkins didn't get a look in. Sorry, I was reading the comment, then it moved on my screen. It broke his heart. Well, Simon, you're obviously his biggest fan, mate. And Mitchell, would you keep Tompkins?
Yeah, he can go in the clear out.
You can go as well. Okay. There's no thanks for the service. It's just he can go. I love it. I've got to take my glass up to read. This print's too small. Okay, this is one that's going to cause divided opinion, I'm sure. How old is he? 34, 35? James MacArthur. Now, listen, he's been a brilliant servant for us, hasn't he? But his contract is up this summer. Mitchell Patel, what do you say about James MacArthur?
I said at the start of the season to my mates, he's not good enough. Yeah, he's a terrier and we all love him and he's a servant beyond belief, but he's not good enough because he's not calm enough to be the pivot player and play through the lines. 100% changed my mind. The only thing he doesn't have now is the fitness to last 90 minutes for the whole season. But there is no way on God's earth I let him go. The guy is a leader.
Mark Callahan says Jimmy Mack has already signed. I thought maybe he has, Mark, if you know better than we do.
He signed a one-year extension.
Yeah, 1 year contract. I guess the two of you, Tim and Steve, would go along with that.
100% agree. He should have stayed.
Let Luka go. Keep Jimmy Mack.
Yeah, Luka Milivojevic isn't up for another year, I think, after that, from according to my stats.
Well, we might as well cut it short.
His contract up and say see you later.
Absolutely.
I mean, let's pay the whatever the penalty is to just cut the contract now.
Two more players I want to talk about quickly, then we'll move on. So I'm going to leave right. So Nathaniel Klein. Someone was extolling his virtues early. Tim, you thought he was a great addition. Keep him?
Keep, definitely, without any shadow of a doubt.
Tim? Oh, you said sorry, Tim.
He's back in New Zealand. There's a delay.
Steve?
100% keep. You have a look at our defensive record this season, whilst he's been in the team with that back four. I'm sorry, he's got to stay, even just for another year.
Yeah, because Ferguson, let's face it, I don't think he's ever going to cut it, is he, Ferguson? No. Yeah, he really isn't.
Get rid of him.
What about you, Mattel? Would you keep Kleiny?
Yeah, I'd keep Klein and Ward in the squad, but really, we need to be bringing in Livramento, Aaron
Wan-Bissaka.
And not Wan-Bissaka.
Out of interest, I didn't see the game on the South Coast tea time yesterday, and I haven't watched it back. I can't bring myself to. But did Wan-Bissaka play for United yesterday?
I didn't hear his
I
name.
didn't even see.
No, I'm not sure about Wan-Bissaka going forward. I think there are other options. As you say, Livramento could be a good shout.
Livramento's a local boy. He's a Croydon boy, isn't he?
Well, he's got
my word.
Tim?
Mark my words. Aaron Wan-Bissaka is very likely to come back to us.
Aaron Wan-Bissaka?
Bissaka, yeah. Either on loan but mark my words, it's likely to happen.
Okay. Yeah, because you overheard a conversation, didn't you, on a train or something?
Yeah,
Steve?
And the day later, it came out in the press, so mark my words.
Steve?
Did you leak it though, Tim? That's the problem. But no, I mean, look, Aaron Wan-Bissaka, from my personal point of view, at a club like United, forget what happened with Wilf there and everything else and the big club mentality. it depends on how we're going to play football going forward. Now, if you're talking about sort of attacking wing backs, then he's not our player, as far as I'm concerned. But I don't care what anyone says. As a defensive-minded right back, just to simply keep clean sheets and, do his job effectively in the back end of the field, there is no better defensive-minded right back, I think, in the country. So if you're going to stick with the four at the back, I think he's a great versatile player that can come on or start as a right back. If you need to go attacking the game, take him off and put a wing back on. Depending on price, of course, and the package, I would say come back.
Okay, all right. We've digressed onto Aaron Wan-Bissaka. I haven't planned on doing that. Tim, do you want to say the final word on him?
Yeah, it's an interesting point Steve says, but all this talk about we need attacking wing backs. We've got Elise and Eze in the team, who play on the wing and they're attacking. So I want my right and left back to defend. Fundamentally, that's their job. We have Patrick Van Aanholt for how many seasons? He was great going forward, crap defending. And how many problems do we have because of that? So
okay.
That kind of proves my point.
I was just going to say, though, you need those brave, offensive defenders because Elise and Zaha, we want to be able to bring them coming in. So those defenders, like if we play with inverted wingers coming in, then those defenders allow the overlap. So that's not what Wan-Bissaka did at United. And they kept telling him, try, and he couldn't do it. He can't put crosses in. But we've seen with Tyrick, he really is starting to develop to do that now with Wilf on that side.
I mean, he must be playing badly in training. He must have some kind of attitude because if he can't get in the team of somebody like Dallo and they're getting beat 4-0, getting beat 4-0 for crying out loud.
And they need defenders.
It will be interesting to see because whether he plays against Palace, Wan-Bissaka, because it is their last game of the season, United. They don't play again until they play us on the final day. We've got 2 more games between now and then as well. So, because they were supposed to play Chelsea and they brought it forward because of the cup final. So I got one more player, gents, that I want to talk about, and I've saved him to last on purpose. It is the Ghanaian prince himself, Jordan Ayew. So
wasting minutes here. We're wasting minutes.
I'm sure this is going to be quick. Bye. You'll say goodbye, Jordan.
I am saying he can jump on the Benteke bus right out the gates.
Okay.
I think either Nick will drive that bus or I will happily donate my petrol, time and energy anywhere in Europe or in the country. I'm happy to drive him.
Okay. Thank you, Tim.
No, I'm going to have to say I 110% disagree with all of you on this.
Are you serious?
No, hear me out.
Okay.
Hear me out. We need to keep Ayew at the team. We need to keep him on the pitch because it is just so much fun watching Gel get wound up.
Oh, right.
And we've talked about him. We've got to keep him. I'm sorry. Got to keep him.
Okay. I did think you had me for a moment. I thought you were serious.
I was about handing my P45 there.
Look, one thing I will say, I've talked on this show before this season, and I've defended him. And I think he has had some good games this season. But his contract's up, and I would agree with you that we'll let him go. But I think he's been a good servant over the years. For the money we spent on him, which was about £2.5 million, I think. He won our player of the season a few years back, by the way. That goal against West Ham and all the rest of it. So, I think thank you for the memories, Jordan, but your time now is to leave. And Steve is the first one queuing up to drive Nick's bus to wherever he wants to go and play his football in Europe. Okay, so there we have it. Okay, so just a little bit about season tickets, guys. Season tickets announced this week, I understand. What do we think? And in the chat as well, tell us what you think about the season ticket prices. Are you going to renew? One would think that you would, given that we're playing the best football in a decade and the best squad in a decade, the best manager, the best brand of football in a decade. But what are your thoughts on season ticket prices? Mitchell, you first. You've got a season ticket in the Arthur Way, I believe.
Value for money we've had in a decade. Best
How much do you pay for yours, mate?
Sorry?
How much do you pay for yours? Do you know?
I can't even remember, but it was like 480, 5 something, maybe. I think.
Yeah. Okay. In the Arthur, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Whereabouts are you in the Arthur? You're on the halfway line.
Yeah, so we've got the centre pole literally in front of us, so we have to go like that all the time. But yeah, I mean, I don't. There's not a penny that I think I've wasted there. I go to every home game thinking this is great. You know, expectations are up. We're excited. Money well spent.
Excellent. So you're in the cheap seats if you're doing this all the time.
Yeah.
Tim,
Well,
Tim, you haven't now. Tim, I know you haven't got a season ticket at the moment, but you're thinking of buying one for next season, presumably.
Yeah, I mean, I've never had a season ticket. I was fortunate enough to be a steward there for many years, so never had to pay to watch the game. But yeah, I'm kind of don't I with buying a house and stuff. But it's just I don't know that I'd get to every game. So is it worth? I just don't know if it's worth it because I've never had one, so I don't know really. Yeah,
it's easy to share them on days you can't go.
Okay, guys. So in the chat, Tim, should he buy a season ticket or not? Is it worth it? Let's get your views.
Hold on, come and watch.
There we go. There we go. I was talking to a guy yesterday I travel up with who was telling me that he can't go to every game next season, but he's still going to renew because it will be worth it still, even if he misses half a dozen games or so. And now you can pass on your ticket. Whether you're supposed to or not, I don't know, but it's easier than ever with screenshotting the QR code and just sending it by WhatsApp or something, and people can get in that way. So certainly people are saying in the chat, renewing for definite. Teresa, I'd give my seat away if I can't go. That's very good of you, Teresa. You are a star. Steve.
So I just want to say I definitely want to get a season ticket. My work, hopefully moving forward, will allow me to do so now. So I was having a obviously chat with you guys pre-show. What I'd like to ask the peoples out there to do me a massive favour. Like when I had my season ticket many years ago, after the season in the Premier League, the following season in the Championship, when Andy Johnson left, I kind of started obviously work commitments and whatnot. I couldn't get one, and I was in the Holmesdale Block B back then. Where are people's seats, and what's the why would you say your seat is the best in the stadium? Like is what I would kind of say. I'm toying up with whether I go sort of main stand after weight or go back to the Holmesdale. I won't go to the upper tier in the Holmesdale though. So it's either one of the sides or Holmesdale. Give me your reasons for where you sit. That's what I would say.
Okay, so where should Steve buy his season ticket next season? I would say main stand, 7 or 8 rows back. Level with the penalty area a bit further in, then you can make yourself heard.
If you was getting it in the year from Tim, I don't think you're going to want me there.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Great. Okay. Well, look, it's good to talk about that, and I wish you well renewing your season tickets, guys, for next season as we start our 10th season consecutively in the Premier League. How good does that sound? 10th consecutive season in the Premier League. I just want to cover off a few things that are happening this week in SE25. So tomorrow evening, Monday, the 9th of May, the under-23s are in action versus Derby County at Selhurst Park. It's a 7 o'clock kickoff. Apparently, it's a £5 on the door. I'm thinking of going. I'm not 100% sure yet. Tell us if you're going to the game tomorrow night at Selhurst to watch the under-23s. We haven't had many opportunities to watch them live because they play most of their games down at Beckenham. But it'll be really good to look at some of the youngsters up close and personal ahead of the end of this season. So that's tomorrow night at Selhurst. And then Tuesday night this week at Box Park, there is an awards evening. 10 awards to give away. I can't quite believe they're doing end of season awards so early. But that's this Tuesday at Box Park. And then Saturday the 14th of May, between 10 a.m. and midday, open training at Selhurst Park. Patrick Vieira's squad train, and you can go along and watch the first team train. And that is ahead of the beer festival in the afternoon. So if you're going to any of those, tell us about it in the chat and why you're going, and hopefully meet up with a few other Red and Blue Review people those on occasion. So going to any of those guys, any of those things?
No, I might try and get tickets for the beer festival.
Beer festival, okay. I think Nigel's coming down from the northeast for the beer festival, so he'll be there. What about you, Tim?
I have to say the 23s sounds interesting because I don't know enough about the academy players or the young players. And so it might be kind of nice to see some of them, knowing what's coming forward, just to get some ideas. So contemplating that.
Okay, and Mitchell, you ever watched the under 23s?
Definitely the under 23s and the 18s. We should talk about them a bit more because we've got some real good talent down there, and the under 23s have fallen off a little bit. So I think we're maybe like 6th, 7th in the league, but the under 18s, I think, are shooting for 3rd, or finish 3rd possibly. But yeah, we've got goal scorers down there: Omilabu, Scotty Banks,
Streets,
Rob
Banks.
Street, Akinwale, Adaramola. There's some decent players, and in the stats in Premier League 2 and under 18s, our players are in the top 10 of goals and assists and stuff like that. So it's looking good all the way down.
It certainly is, yeah. So if you can get along and see them tomorrow night, well worth doing. Steve?
So with the final few games that are coming up in the end of the season, now we're mathematically safe. I know we've got a game in hand of that sort of Mickey Mouse team down the A23, where we could finish in 9th or possibly, I don't think we can get 8th now. But with the last couple of games against Everton, against Man United, would you play any of the players like the Bankses or the Streets just to give them a bit of field time now in preparation for maybe next season with hopefully getting rid of Benteke and, with players like Edouard not firing? Would anyone give any of those a chance? Because I personally would give them an opportunity.
Mattel, would you?
I think we're blooding in Eze to get him back fit, which is great. And I think he's probably going to give Edouard a lot of minutes to see whether he can do that job because we just don't know yet. But Rak-Saki, I think, is one.
Yes.
I don't know why he's not even been put on the bench yet. He started the first game of the season.
He did. He played at Chelsea, didn't he, in the first game?
He has ruined the Premier League 2 this season. So I'm just confused why he's never really been put on the bench. I know Patrick is very much a squad type guy, and he brings them all in together. And I know like a few of the academy got promoted for training this season. So this week, but they're just not getting on the bench. And I think you're right. I think with the last 3 games, we've got a positive goal difference. We've got 46 goals with an expected goals of 51. So we actually should have had more. And I think, we should maybe give Rak-Saki a little game or 2.
So there's one vote for Rak-Saki there. Steve, you posed the question. A few people are saying, giving comments here, no, play them in pre-season, says Mukhtar Buta. And some others are saying, give the kids a chance. But I think with the strength of our squad, I'm not sure I would. Who would you leave out? Realistically, you look at that bench yesterday, Mitchell, Milivojevic, Tompkins, Kute, Schlupp, Ayew, Mateta, Benteke. You really going to leave any of those players out?
Benteke.
With all due respect,
really?
Benteke hasn't played for a while, whether it's the post-COVID or long COVID. Mateta's had a run of games, and although he scored loads of goals, and I know I was critical of him, and my mind was kind of coming around, but the more I watched him live, for every goal he scored, he missed 2 or 3 probably gilt-edged chances to create goals. I think, look, there's 2 or 3 games left now. Yes, they may come in now at the end of the season when nothing really matters. Play them against the teams like the Evertons and the Man U's, and let's see how they react to that, and then you can build them up in pre-season. Give them a little taste now, build them up in pre-season, and let them hit the ground running. Because
Steve, I want to come to you next, Tim. Chris Lehman says in the chat, it's so tight in the middle of the table. I can understand Vieira wanting to keep his foot on the gas to ensure we don't slip to 14th. So I'm with Chris on that. Tim, what do you think?
Yeah, I heard Patrick Vieira in an interview during the week saying he wants to win games, and he's already starting to look to next season. And I think it shows what a forward-thinking manager he is, to realise that the end of the season is more important than the start of the following season. Because if you end the season on a high, if we end the season above Brighton in 9th with the most goals we've ever, positive goal difference, with the most points we've got, with the players we've got going into pre-season and next season, the confidence level of the team is going to be sky high. I think at this stage, bring the youngsters in pre-season, because I guarantee you, if he plays some of the youngsters and we end up below Brighton at the end of the season, all of us will be saying he should have played those players. We should have finished above Brighton. So
absolutely, I'm all for playing our strongest team, our strongest squad, right to the very end. Steve, you say there's nothing to play for. Is a couple of £1 million per place, mate. And there's also that pride element. You don't want to finish 14th or 15th. You want to finish 9th or 10th or even 8th. 8th is the highest we can finish. So Wolves got a point yesterday at Chelsea, dying seconds. They equalised.
Just remember, goal difference, and we beat everybody around us.
Exactly. I think I looked at it earlier, and we got the 6th best goal difference in the league, 6th or 7th, something like that. It's the top 4 or 5. And then it's us. We got a better goal difference than Man United.
Well, last season it was -25.
It's do you know what? The transformation is remarkable. Absolutely remarkable.
Patrick is God.
Tim, quick point, and then I want to wrap this up.
Yeah, the other thing to think about is the last 3 games we've got are not easy games. Villa are pushing up. Everton, they need the points. Final game United, with how United have been playing, they're going to be hurting, and we're out there. So
Okay. So what changes would you make in these final 3 games? We saw 5 changes yesterday in the starting 11 against Watford from the Southampton game. Who deserves the shirt up top? Who deserves to play in goal? Let's say, and maybe holding midfield. So let's come to you, Mittel, first. What changes would you make for these final games, if any?
I would kind of keep the same teams we were playing, really. So Zaha, Elise, Eze, obviously our regular back 4, and just like experiment. I mean, with Raksaki, I wouldn't start him. I would just give him 10 minutes at the end of games and things like that when you've already won it, because we dominate games now. So, I keep going and just keep winning, basically.
Steve, any changes?
No, I think the midfield is the one where it doesn't look like we're kind of really set. That kind of becomes interchangeable, doesn't it? But I think, like Mitchell just said, with the up front, the back line, I think stays the same. I think that speaks for itself. And I think up front with Eze, Elise, and Zaha, that's kind of what I'll keep. And then it's kind of like your choice of midfielders.
Sure. Okay. And Tim, same from you, or have you got any views quickly?
No, I keep same team.
Good. Okay. Vincent Guita apparently was injured, which is why he didn't feature in the matchday squad yesterday. We've had a little bit of fun predicting the final 5 games of the season. Was it 5 games or 6 games? 5 games. And Mr. Philpott, where are you? Oh, you're top, aren't you? You predicted both scores correctly. I predicted Southampton correctly, 2-1. And I went 2-0 yesterday. And I think Lucy did as well, 2-0. And it should have been 2-0, shouldn't it? Edward should have.
Happy birthday, Lucy.
Yeah, I was coming to that. Very big happy birthday to our friend and colleague, Lucy Asher. So whatever you're doing, Lucy, we know you'll watch this show back. We wish you a very happy birthday for today. Okay, so, last 3 games of the season. So as in the sort of time-honoured tradition at the end of these podcasts, let's get your score prediction for Aston Villa away. Coming to you first, Tim.
1-1.
1-1. Is that? I can't remember what I predicted in the thing now. Yeah, okay. 1-1 from you, Mitchell.
Yeah, haven't we already predicted these?
Yeah, but I want the prediction at the end of this show. Come on.
All right. Okay, I'll go with a 2-1 away win.
2-1 away win, and Steve.
I want to go for 2-1 to us. Reverse what they did to us at home.
So same as Mitchell, and I think I said 1-1 in the prediction thing that we've just been talking about. But I sort of fancy us to win it now. I always do, rose tinted, red and blue tinted specs as always for the next game that's coming up. So if you're going to Villa away next Sunday, I'll be there. Hopefully see you there. Come and say hello. It's a 2 p.m. kickoff at Villa Park. and then we will do a show on Monday night at 8 p.m. after the Villa game, looking back at Villa and previewing Everton away on the Thursday, and then Man United, of course, on the final day on the Sunday. So thanks, everybody, for joining us tonight. Just over the hour, an hour and 5 minutes. Thank you to Mitchell, to Tim, to Steve, and for everyone for tuning in and watching the Red and Blue Review. Good night, everyone. Until the next time. Up the Palace. Come on.
All right, all.
Good night, everyone.
All right.
Bye.